I'll send $19.95 to my PayPal, and I'll show you how to get rid of your beer gut. All right, so the dynamic here is, we're going to say this is the theory of sharp, and this is my hypothesis of that sharpness, okay? Every different knife has a different edge geometry. And so based on that edge geometry, that knife is designed to cut rope, cut food, cut trees, chop lumber, slaughter beef, whatever that knife is for, it has a different edge geometry. So there is no one perfect edge geometry. There's no one perfect angle for everything. Every different knife has a different edge geometry. Also, the hardness of the knife and the type of steel and the heat treat, all these things come into factor as a knife's ability to be sharp. You can take a piece of bronze and make it razor sharp, and it will cut for a while, and it will be incredibly tough, and it will be easy to sharpen. You can take a piece of mild steel and do the same thing. Or, in this case, we're going to use some high carbon steel. Both of these knives have 80 CRV2 core. One is a chef's knife and one is a chopper. This, in fact, is one of the choppers that we made in the Forge series. If you saw all the cuts we made, this is the one we did it with. This is sharpened differently, different edge geometry, different sharpness. Same thing with this. So I'm going to show you some of the concepts when I do that. I like to use two different grit stones. You can use a lot. You can be like, well, I start out with this and go this and this and this and this. And if you look at it, the sharpness level will rise up like this, and it'll continue up like on an arc. But as it begins to dull, that arc changes dynamically. You'll be sharp, 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 and then you hit a plateau. I call it the plateau of sharpness, okay? So it'll stay this level of sharpness for pretty much a long time if your edge is set up properly. I didn't even say that. I said your edge is set up properly, but what I meant to say was properly. I don't have secondary bevels on most of my knives. And a secondary bevel is when whatever your grind is, hollow, flat, any possible combination, and then once it's finished, you go back and sharpen it on whatever degree angle. Most factory knives are done this way, and that's good because that's how they have to be done. When I do my knives, when my folding kukris are done, or any of my knives that Fox makes or are made by RMJ Tactical, they are sharpened that way. The technique that I have on these custom knives is very different. They're flat or they're hollow, and then they convex in, so the angle disappears. So what's the angle? Well, it's kind of variable. I said it before, I don't measure angles. I don't measure blade widths. I don't measure blade lengths. I just want to make knives that work good and feel good, and it's the first thing you want to grab to go and cut stuff, whether you're going in the woods or whether you're going into the kitchen. So let's explore some of these ideas. The chef's knife. This knife, some people will go, wow, that's a little bit on the thick side. It's just a hair over 1/8 of an inch, but it tapers dramatically here. And then it's about 2.5 inches wide, and it just comes down to zero, almost zero. So it's a little bit tricky. When I grind this thing, I grind it to where the edge is 10/1000ths thick, and then I finish it and get it sharp. Okay, so what it ends up later, I don't really know. That's not what's important. What's important is how do you maintain the edge. So I'm going to use two different types of stones. In the past, I have used the Japanese water stones. I really like them, but they require more maintenance than I am interested in keeping up with. And I have had a bad habit of neglecting the stones and leaving them in the water until the water dries up, and I've ruined a couple of stones, I might say. And so I just got away from those because I started to play with the diamond stones and ceramic stones. So this is a diamond stone from DMT. I think this is one of the best diamond stones that is being made. This one is designated as fine, all right? This is the Spyderco black ceramic. I think these are mined on the moon. I'm not really sure. I know everybody thinks the moon's made out of cheese, but maybe somewhere they have this hidden, sharpening stone mine owned by Sal Glaser of Spyderco, and this is where they come from. I don't really know, but I like to think about it like that. Okay, of course I'm not serious. So this is, I would consider this to be the more coarse stone, even though it's very fine, and this is the finer stone. I just use two different ones, unless the knife is really dull or the edge is damaged. If the edge is damaged or it's very dull, I will drop back to a slightly more coarse stone and work my way up. But because it's already relatively sharp, and I want to just get it razor scary sharp again, I'm going to use these two. So here's how I do it. Some people set the stone in a water trough, or they set it down and work it. You can do that, okay? I'm not making rules for you on how you want to hold this. So you can do this and work the stone back and forth. That's totally fine. But for right now, the technique that I'm using that seems to be very effective is I hold the stone. This one I have a piece of hickory just hot glued to the back of it. Sometimes I have a diamond, not a diamond, it's a big magnetic strip that I'll hold it with, because I like to hold it. I like to feel the stone. Now these are kind of heavy, so you may not want to hold this. So I get that. Now, I'm going to show you something cool if you want me to turn this way. So I'm laying the knife flat. That's my angle of sharpness. I'm just going to turn that up until the edge makes contact. I could probably get 2/4 underneath the back of this knife. I hope that makes some sense. Now, how do I maintain that? Well, just practice, I guess you could say. You know, it's like anything. You play a musical instrument or you make knives, you get good at it, and then you get used to doing it. So for the first thing, I'm just going to get that angle up, and I'm going to work it I'm going to try to have as much surface area of the knife on this stone. And I'm going to try and maintain that angle. I'm just going to work it back and forth. The reason I'm doing this, I don't want to deform the edge profile on kitchen knives or food prepping knives. It's really important that you don't recurve them, okay? So you can count that if you want how many times, but I do it, and let's just say we did it 10 times back and forth. You can count if you want. Now I'm going to go the other way. Same thing. Oh, that's where my edge is touching. So I'm going to go back and forth. All right, at this point, you should be able to feel a burr. Now I'm going to run my hand backwards, not forwards. I don't want to get cut. So I want to feel and see if I can feel a burr. Now I might not be able to feel it, but maybe I can see it too. That's kind of nice. So there's a little bit of a wire on here. That's what I want. I want to develop a little wire edge or a burr. Once I have that, I'm going to take it off with this stone. You can go up finer stones if you want, but one of the things I have in my experience with this knife is I don't want a polished woodworking edge. I want some teeth. When I'm cutting with this knife, I'm cutting in an elliptical arc, I guess. You know, it's, if you were to measure this, you know, put a pencil on it, you'd probably make little ellipses, you know, because you're cutting like this on a cutting board. Are you cutting, are you slicing, whatever. You can fillet fish with a knife like this. You can, you know, you cut anything you want to. This knife is kind of good for everything, all right? I don't cut like this. I don't know how to cut like this. I know some of the Japanese style kitchen knives, this is the technique used. I don't know how to do that. I just do this real old school French chef's knife style. I'm sure some of you are going to criticize that. I'm just sharing my technique here. And I'm using the lingo that I can use to best describe this technique. I just want to help, okay? So now, once I have the burr, then I'll go over to the ceramic stone. This is from Spyderco. The other one's from DMT. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay it down. And I usually work this just one direction. I don't work it back and forth. And this cool effect will begin to happen here. Now, make sure your fingers are lower than the stone. Otherwise, you'll be shaving part of them off. And that's no fun. Got to be real careful with this stuff because you can get cut so awesomely that even stitches might not fix it. All right, now we're gonna go the other way. So what the cool effect is, it looks like little snowflakes will fall off the edge, and that's the wire edge being abraded off. It's a nice sound, right? Happy little knife sounds. I'm not using any weight or force. I'm just using the knife. I'm not pushing on it, is what I mean. By weight. I'm not pushing it. I'm just letting its own weight do the work. And I've found that pushing it tends to not get it sharper. But letting it, using its own weight seems to work really well. So now I want to just have a look at it. I'm going to examine it. I want to see if I can push the edge over one way or the other. See if I have a wire. I don't have a wire. Here's a neat thing Murray Carter showed me. Murray Carter is a master bladesmith, makes many multitudes of kitchen knives and utility knives, and they're freaking sharp. They're wicked sharp. So I'm just sharing that because he shared a technique similar to this with me when I first started. So I'm going to use 3 fingers close together and my thumb. And the thumb is the pressure gauge. 1 finger, probably get cut. 2, probably get cut. 3, I just want to feel if there's little teeth. Like, I don't want it to be slippery. I want to feel like fangs. Oh yeah, I can't really slide my fingers on that. So I like that. I want that little edginess feeling. Like doing this, feeling it with your thumb, whatever. They don't really do anything. Right back here, I think we got a little bit we need to work some more. So I'll just do that. I'll go back on here. I'll just work it again a little bit. These techniques, you can modify them, you can change them, you can make them your own. This is just what I'm doing because this seems to work really well. All right, now same thing. Teeth. Okay, they're everywhere. That's sharp. I don't have a wire. One other little thing that I do sometimes, not all the time, is I'll get a really nice piece of cardboard from a cardboard box. All right, I'm going to put it on the edge of my table. I don't like to strop so much, but what we're going to do is we're going to strop the blade, and going backwards, not forwards. You go forwards, you'll cut, but with the point to the edge. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1. So any little I don't know, it doesn't take the teeth off. If there is any wire, it basically abrades the wire off. Now this knife is scary sharp at this point. And we'll do some testing. I'll show you in a minute. We'll do some test cuts just to make sure, hey man, this thing is wicked sharp. But in the meantime, we're going to go to the recurve knife. How do you sharpen a recurve? Giant pain in the butt. That's true. Very similar, a little more simple. Now this knife is an outdoor knife. This is a camp knife. It's 1/4 inch thick or thicker. It's got some taper to it. It's pretty heavy. It is almost 3 inches wide, brute deforged finish, and right here is a fuller, and then the edge goes all the way down to sharp. So it's basically flat. The forging's flat, but the edge convexes to sharp. A little bit different edge geometry, a little more stout, a little more durable. So I can cut into trees and branches and clear trails and dig in the dirt and whatever I want to do, make camp or fight dragons and dinosaurs. All right, so same thing. I'm using a DMT oval rod. It's red, and I don't know what grit that is. Again, if that's important to you to know all the details and all the measurements, then you do that. That's fine. I don't believe anything when somebody shows me the first time. Even if they said that's 800 grit, I'd have to do my own research. I'd look that red one up and be like, okay, that is 800 grit. So I think that's what it is. We're just to say it's 800, maybe it's 600, I'm not sure. But you want it to be coarse enough to cut the metal, but fine enough to leave a really nice fine edge, okay? I usually only go with one of these. I don't usually do 2 grits with this. So this I'm just gonna shave like I'm shaving the bark off of a tree limb is the best thing I can akin it to. So same thing, I'm gonna lay it down, find my angle. Yeah, right there. So it's the same on this side, right there. And I'm just gonna make light, I'm gonna use the weight of the knife. I'm not trying to force it, I'm just like, I'm shaving off little thin strips of bark. Now coming towards you is sketchy, but there's a guard right there. Don't cut yourself, don't cut your belly. Be careful, wear your apron if you got to. Don't do it fast, just do it even and nice. There's no hurry here. The idea is just being consistent. Make it sharp. If a knife is not set up to be sharp, you're gonna fight it. This won't work. If your knife edge geometry is not set up to be sharp, you will just fight this. This won't work for you. You have to make sure your design of your edge is designed to be sharp. I know it seems like duh. Well, it should be because it's a knife, right? You'd think so, but I've had so many knives in my hands, factory knives and other makers, that they don't know it. Now, if you are a maker and you don't know it, I'm going to show you how to do it. I want to show you how to do it. You have to watch the Forge series and you can see it. We'll also be sharing more little snippets on YouTube about how that works and why that works. So after a couple of these, I guess a couple's 2, so maybe I did more than a couple. Like I said, I'm not into the, I just want to do what works, and I know what that is. So this is like this is the way, you know, this is the way. So the way is better to know than the measurements. It's like really good cooks. They can tell you a measurement, but they don't measure. They just cook. All right, now I want to, same thing, I'm going to use my thumb, I'm going to use my fingers. There's teeth, teeth, teeth. Ooh, fangs, 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 fangs. So I got them all the way. There's no wire on here. If there is a wire, here's what you can do. You can take a piece of wood or your handle, and that wire will lay over to one side. When you run it like that, whichever side it lays over to, you can feel the burr. Abrade that off. Abrade it off by going back, simply doing the same thing, sharpening. Now, when I first do these, I watch that wire will go back and forth and back. And you watch your wire edge flex back and forth while you're doing this. That's good news. That usually means that you have the perfect hardness and tempering for your knife. Sometimes a knife that's too hard, it just falls off. Sometimes a knife that's too soft, same thing. But when it's just perfect, it'll want to flex back and forth, and then it'll eventually come right off of there. All right. Fangs, 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 fangs all the way down. This edge is not sharp. I do not sharpen the back edge on most of my camp knives and choppers because I don't want to get injured with that. The swedge, it looks cool. It makes the point pointier. It makes more surface area out here where the blade's thin, so you get a stronger point. That's why it's there. Number one, it's there because it looks cool. I don't have to put it on there, but I like the way it looks. So I'm going to do the same thing with the cardboard. I'm just going to lay the cardboard down, and I'm going to strop it. You can go backwards or forwards. It don't really matter. So we're sharp. I don't recommend all this arm shaving stuff. You can, but you get cut. So we're not going to show you that. Don't show that because I don't want people to get cut. And shaving your arm is bad. All right. So next we'll do some test cuts, and we can see, is this sharp and what does that look like? Doesn't necessarily mean it pops hair or anything. The knife has to be fit for its task. It has to do for its task. And the other key here is, could we make the chef's knife or this knife sharper? Yes, we can make it sharper. We can take it up that ramp. But again, in my experience with the knife, is it will cut. You can spend that you know, that same amount of time that you did to get here, it's like 2% better to go way up that ramp and make 1, 2, 3 cuts, and then you hit that plateau again. So I'd rather set it up to be razor sharp and durable and useful for a long amount of time than spend a lot of extra time to get 3 ridiculous sharp edges that kind of wear off. They either microchip, they'll corrode off, is kind of weird, or they'll wear off within the first 2 cuts and just get themselves right into that comfortable, what I call, you know, razor sharp, scary sharp area.